Okay, the Indianapolis Colts and Chris Ballard just fooled the NFL again. I think Chris Ballard is a really good general manager, and I think he's been dealt kind of a weird hand. He's got a tough owner to deal with. Remember, he had Josh McDaniel that he hired that withdrew. Then he had Frank Wright, who turns out Frank Wright clearly not the coach kind of that we all thought, but Chris Ballard's been drafting well. He's been kind of starting this thing over, trying to figure it out. He's got Quentin Nelson, Shaquille Leonard. I mean, he's drafted well and he's found guys, but this latest one is just a sneaky little great pickup that I love. So here it is. And ESPN came out with surprises of the offseason so far, and Trey Sermon is one that is just like, man, what a find to get this guy. So with no clear replacement for Zach Moss, it's like who's going to be number 2 behind Jonathan Taylor? For now, the likeliest option appears to be Sermon, whose hard running style has earned him first crack at the job. Sermon is on his 3rd team in 4 seasons, but this is the closest he's come to establishing some consistency in his career. And so Trey Sermon, you might not remember this guy or his name, but he went to Oklahoma. Instantly, as a true freshman in 2017, he played in all 14 games. He finished with 750 yards, 5 touchdowns. As a sophomore, he shared time with another guy and still had 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns. And so he then transfers to Ohio State. In the 2020 Big Ten championship game, he has 330 yards rushing. So he's 6 foot, 215 pounds. So then he gets drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in the 3rd round. Had some injuries, some things not go well. So he was released in 22, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Same thing. It's kind of like an injury waiver type thing after 1 year. And then he's just picked up by the Indianapolis Colts at kind of midway through the season last year to the practice squad. And it's like, okay. And then he's on the active roster and he appears in 14 games. And you're like, okay, like, who is this guy? And then the Colts re-sign him to a new contract. And just like that, you might have a little gem on your hands that you didn't even know about, because you then Zach Moss goes is like, I don't know. And by the way, just in case you're like, who's this guy talking? We're Detroit Lions fans, but we have this channel all about teams and stories that don't get the love nationally like they should. Indianapolis Colts being one of those teams, by the way, that I think going to be really good. But yeah, this like, okay, this backup running back. So why is this important? Well, PFF says that the Indianapolis Colts have a top 10 running back unit. And so you're like, okay, so that just tells me that they even are looking at Trey Sermon and being like, yep, this dude's good. So Taylor poised for a 2024 season, more reminiscent of his 2021 year. Though the Colts are light on depth after him with Evan Hall and Trey Sermon, Taylor's potential is enough to make this a top 10 group. So you have Taylor, but then you also have Trey Sermon to be able to plug in there. And the Indianapolis Colts are a team that I'm really curious to see, because last year felt like it was just constantly treading water, trying to like fighting upstream when you don't have your main quarterback, and you don't have your main quarterback. B, you don't feel good because Anthony Richardson's not getting any better because he's not in there. So it's like, even if he was playing and you were losing or whatever, but the way the Indianapolis Colts were just able to hang in there all the way to the bitter end was like, man, that's impressive. So you throw in your starting guy, you throw in a great season by Taylor, and it's like all of a sudden this is a really unique team. Trey Sermon, you've got everything that you need. If you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, you can be excited about this team because, man, defense kept you in games, offensive line good. It's like, okay, I love it. I love it. I think this is going to be really good. So here's and one other thing here, that I wanted to get into was Anthony Richardson. So okay, we can talk about all these players, backup running back, as I'm switching gears here a little bit, but Anthony look at him and like what he can do and how good he can be, the dual threatness of him is just out of this world in a way that we have never seen. I think we're going to see that here. And here's what I mean. Dual threat, Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson. It means you can run or throw. Duh. But with him, he's so big and strong. And I know this is hard to say after a guy that just came off an injury. And it's like, man, okay. Because I was going to say, like, he's not going to get injured, but he just did. I get it. But my point is, he can take hits. Wouldn't it be nice? Crunch time, everything on the line. On 3rd and 1, you can do read options. You can do quarterback draw, quarterback power. Like, that's a whole nother blocker. That's a free guy that Anthony Richardson can take the ball and be a running back. So I'm saying in September, it's not going to really notice it. But as you get into November, December, games on the line that really matter, your playoff push, and you're telling me on 3rd and inches, he's not going to really get a first down. Huge, right? Lions have Jared Goff. There's none of that. Zero. Painfully zero. No mobility, no options to run, to move, to go for first downs, that whole thing. It changes everything. Now, do you want him to be able to throw the ball well on 3rd and 8? Absolutely. Take that over everything. Case in point, Detroit Lions, they have Jared Goff, cannot run at all, but man, he's a gamer and he can throw the ball in there. That's what you want. That's what you hope Anthony Richardson can develop into, and the whole thing, and he can read coverages, find his guys. Duh. But what about being able to say, all right, are you kidding me? 4th and 1, 4th and goal on the 1-yard line. And you've got a guy where it's like, is it a read option? Is it a power? Is he just going to fake like he's running? Throw it. Oh my gosh, it's endless if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. And by the way, if you've watched this far into the video, let's talk about this one last thing here. And it's the Mount Rushmore of Indianapolis Colts. So there's an article that came out just recently, and everybody's been kind of talking about it. So let's take a look at it. Obviously, Peyton Manning. Let me pull this up. This is not the one I wanted, but I'm going to still talk about it. This is a different one, but same. It's basically the same. Peyton Manning. Duh. Johnny Unitas. Duh. Marvin Harrison. Okay. And Gino Marchetti. Okay. So that one's tough for me just because I don't know. 1953. I don't know that one. Let me know who would be in your Mount Rushmore of Indianapolis Colts. Man, Peyton Manning, how good was he? And how good does he still remains? Just because he's easy to talk to, listen to. I've never talked to him. Easy to listen to. It's crazy. Let me just pull up one thing here. So Edgerrin James, Dwight Freeney. Now I'm going off of guys that I've seen play. So, I haven't gone, but this is an outsider. Edgerrin James. Here's how you know Edgerrin James was good. Peyton Manning loves him. That's what I find interesting about him. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? And again, if you haven't subscribed, would love if you do that. And we'll see all of you on the next one.